Hi, Jonathan. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, Elijah. I appreciate you having me on.
Beautiful. And thank you too for honoring the invite. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jonathan. Yeah, I am quite excited to have you on the show for some reasons. Okay, firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking, because I believe in order to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, Jonathan, I was reading the writings of an ancient monarch, King Solomon, and he said some amazing stuff. He said, seek knowledge, seek understanding, and seek wisdom, as you would seek
Yeah.
your lost money or an hidden treasure. That's profound.
Yeah.
And Jonathan,
Very profound.
ever since I discovered that the word knowledge in the Hebrew means light and darkness means
Uh-huh.
ignorance. Oh man, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I don't want to remain in the dark. And that's going to make our
Yeah.
conversation here today very, very important to me and even to the audience. The second reason why I'm excited to have you on the show, Jonathan, is for the sake of the listeners. I believe there are some things that you know that they need to hear you say these stuff, directly from your mouth in order for them to experience transformation and get unstuck.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. And lastly, that is me
Yeah.
again. I am convinced that I'm definitely going to learn one or two things from you, your story, your insights, your experiences. So for that reason, Jonathan,
Excuse me.
yeah, man, sorry. So for that reason, Jonathan, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your journey, how you got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Jonathan,
Okay.
over to you.
So, for those who are watching and don't know me, I'm a dating and relationship coach. I predominantly work with women, but I also work with men, mostly people over 40 years old. I tailored myself to that demographic because, you know, our 20s and 30s are kind of we're a blank slate in our lives. And so oftentimes people are approaching the dating process potentially with, getting married, making babies, raising a family. And then you get into your 40s, 50s, and 60s, which has the single demographic is predominantly divorce. And I think it's an underserved community. So I speak to the emotional effects of trying to date in midlife. Why I do this, not so much, Elijah, for giving tips and tricks on, how to help people connect at midlife. It's because I think dating triggers the number one emotional health wound most people are faced with. And that's, I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not likable. And as you shared in the beginning of this conversation, that knowledge is how, to some degree, how we transcend, and through knowledge there's light, and ignorance there's darkness. I think we as a population oftentimes believe if we have the right life partner, our life will be better. And while there's certainly a benefit, life is better with company, I'm here to promote something different, and that's individual empowerment, self-worth, self-confidence, self-reliance, self-esteem. I wrap it up in the title of self-love, and as you can see in the back of me, there's a book called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway, which is a book I wrote. It's about personal development. It's about self-help. It's about spiritual work. It's about doing therapy to make oneself as whole as possible so that by the time you do connect with someone on a romantic level, hopefully you can co-create a life together versus coming from a place of dependency. And given throughout history, relationships were more based on survival and protection against the elements and other tribes. Now, I believe we're in a unique period of time. You might find this interesting, Elijah. I think we're in a unique period of time where there are more singles than ever before. There's an isolation of humanity, especially here in the United States. There's a real epidemic of loneliness. And I was pondering this. I'm sort of a philosopher, psychologist. I was actually wondering if we are in a state of humanity where we're meant to go through this dark night of the soul for everybody, so we can reemerge in a place of self-love by doing the work, as you said, the knowledge or the work of, as I said earlier, personal development, self-help, and spiritual work and therapy to make one whole. And this is my passion in life, is to encourage doing the work.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. It's to encourage doing the work. That's your passion. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. And you see, you've mentioned some very important stuffs that I am truly, truly excited to have you on the show because ever since you started talking, I've been learning some amazing stuffs. You know, self-worth and self-love. I got that. Okay, so shall we get started with the questions, Jonathan?
Sure.
Okay, so now let us talk about men, alright? What are those
Okay.
signs that a man is serious about commitment? You know, some people might say, how do I know this person is truly into me? How do I know he truly loves me or is committed to me? How? So can you talk to us about the signs that tells us that, this person is really committed?
Sure. I'm going to answer this. I could give you the pat answers that every blog and every coach has written, his actions match his words, he's consistent, all that kind of stuff. But here's a sign that hasn't been discussed, and I want to share it with you, Elijah, is when a man is committed to commitment. And I want to repeat that. He's committed to commitment. In other words, he has made the decision that he wants a life partner. See, the way most people operate is like, oh, let me just go test drive the car. Let me go test drive the car. Let me go test drive the car. And once I'm in the car that I like, that's the one I'll purchase. Instead of going, I am fully committed. Oh, and by the way, what a lot of people do is lease cars, and I don't mean to relegate human romantic love in a car analogy, but a lot of people will lease a car instead of going, I am fully committed to buying a car that's going to last me the rest of my life. Okay. You are committed to that. This is the car I'm going to drive for the rest of my life. And again, I'm not trying to suggest men and women are cars. Okay. But the idea is committed to commitment. Now, how do you determine this? Well, you look for the clues of where they're not committed to commitment. For example, I just want something casual. When someone says I want someone casual, they're like, let me drive the car and then decide if I want to buy it. Okay. Or I'm not looking for anything serious. Or when a man initially engages in connection with you, and then he does the let's take it slow. Okay. When a man says, let's take it slow, he's saying, look, I don't know if I want a serious relationship with you. I don't want to make a promise I can't keep. So I want to keep distance between the two of us because I don't know that you're the person I'd like to commit to. Now, that's a fair statement, but oftentimes men push the physical intimacy really fast instead of pushing the desire to connect with you on a friendship level. Now, I don't mean friend zone, okay? That's not what I mean by a friendship level. What I've determined that the most successful relationships, or at least this is what I've observed, I should say, seem to be couples who are dear friends and they're lovers at the same time. That friendship piece is that critical piece of union, of alignment. And so the signs are not so much how to determine if he's commitment oriented. What you want to pay attention, although a person who says I'm committed to commitment, that's a great sign. Look for the signs of the people who are not committed to commitment.
Powerful words. Oh man, I love that. I love that. Are you committed to commitment? I got that. Okay, we still have some questions here, Jonathan. So, let us
Sure.
talk about dating after divorce. What is the requirement before dating again after divorce?
So, this is a tricky question as well because, sometimes people separate from one another and the divorce takes several years. So, you know, I've determined that people are in that space of separation. Divorce is the unraveling of the tapestry of your life with another human being. And to immediately begin dating after that, just because someone is available, doesn't mean that they're emotionally available. So, as a good rule of thumb, and you don't want to find yourself in what's known as a transition relationship, I would venture to say it takes a couple years after two people have separated, and certainly ideally even a period of time of divorce, to go through the legal ramifications, the emotional ramifications, to actually consider a life partner. Now, I said life partner. A lot of people are dating because they want companionship, connection, and sex. So you have to determine, are you a person that has a short-term mating strategy or a long-term mating strategy? If you have a long-term mating strategy and you've done the work, as I said earlier, to be in a good place, to be in a relationship, then seek someone who's also in the same space, because divorce believe it or not, is a very emotionally traumatic experience. It can take years, if not decades, to truly heal from such an experience. And I don't think enough attention is given to the importance of real healing, because divorce is a traumatic experience, whether you think so or not, at least in my opinion.
I tell you, I think the divorce is terrible. To some point, I say it's worse than death because getting to see someone you were once with now with someone else, and the new family, and ah, that's deep. I tell you, and I feel like most
It
people
certainly takes time to develop
yeah,
one's sovereignty after that. There's no doubt about it. I agree with you.
yeah, and I feel like most people date for the wrong reasons. Getting to listen to you speak now, the stuff you've been saying. Most people actually date for some selfish reasons. Protection, sex, or material, all this materialistic stuffs, and they are
Yeah.
not committed to commitment. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite statements now. I love that. Okay, so we still have two more to go. All right.
Okay.
Why is it that men over 40 pull away, ghost, or disappear? You got that?
This is a great question. And I want to piggyback on something you said just a moment ago. I do believe that a significant percentage of the dating population is dating from an egoic place, from a place of entertaining one another. In other words, it's all about entertainment. Like, did you take me to the nice restaurant? Did we do activities? It's the entertainment. And romance is how we enter into the dating environment, through romance. Now, I've always said romance should be reserved for couples in a relationship, not as an entry point in a relationship, because it creates a false sense of intimacy. But why I'm bringing this up and coming back to what happens, why particularly people in their 40s begin to pull away, is because they haven't clearly identified, I'm committed to commitment. More importantly, what happens is very few humans really understand compatibility. And compatibility comprises of a few things: shared values, a shared vision of your life, lifestyles that are blendable, but more importantly, Elijah, emotional maturity. If a human being hasn't really, and let's even include relationship skills in this, emotional maturity isn't about paying your bills and being on time for work. That's certainly responsibility of a mature person. I'm talking about emotional maturity, doing the healing after the ending of a relationship, getting really clear on identifying one's needs and then expressing one's needs in a way that can be seen and heard by another human being. And sadly, we have a very underdeveloped population of human beings in the dating marketplace that have weak emotional maturity, and worse, poor relationship skills. So because of this, It's all great to enter in the marketplace, romancing each other, entertaining each other, having a little bit of companionship, having a little bit of connection, having sex. But then the shit becomes real. And the minute it becomes real, you have to look in the mirror and say, am I ready for commitment? And a lot of men and women hit this wall and go, no, I'm not. I'm not committed to commitment. And what do? They start pulling back. But the other person might have already got attached to you. You see, true emotional maturity is about recognizing that the minute you engage with another human being's feelings, might get attached to you. And while you could have created all the distance in the world, it doesn't matter. I think we as humans have a responsibility that the minute we engage with another human being is to put their needs commensurate with your own, instead of the myopic, selfish way so many people are dating today.
In today, I got that. Okay, so for someone who say, hey Jonathan, I would like to know if my man is using me. What are the things you think he will say or do? I want to know if he's using me. What would you reply that person with?
Well, okay, so when we talk about using, I want to be clear. I don't believe most human beings intentionally hurt another human being and use them. The use is more of the word use is are they focused on their own needs and not my partner's needs? Okay. So one thing is, if the relationship is all about him or her, then you're basically using the other person for your own needs. Okay. So, and I know that might seem obvious, but at the same time, we do see a lot of relationships that are very one-sided. It's all about one person's needs. And more importantly, if you feel afraid to speak up for your needs, and you feel like, in other words, you fear loss of the relationship, that means you've given your power to the other human being, because abandonment of the relationship, if you fear the abandonment of the relationship, then you're not in a co-creative relationship with another human being. However, with that said, certainly when someone's actions don't consistently match their words, you might find yourself feeling used. If there's no progression of the relationship to something serious, then you might be feeling used. If you don't feel like you can speak up and you have a voice in the relationship, you might eventually feel like you got used. These are just some of the things. But Elisha, what I'm really encouraging every man and woman in the dating marketplace is to become so sovereign in yourself and choose a person that feels aligned with you, where that synergy is already, you're both on the same page. And you can do this from the very first text message, after the first 10 text messages on a dating app. You can start asking those deeper questions. And if somebody shies away from that, then they're probably not capable of a deeper relationship.
What a great insight. I got that. Okay, Jonathan. You've said so many amazing stuffs and you just proved me right. I mentioned in the beginning, I said, I'm sure that I would learn one or two things from you. And that has happened already. Thank you so much, man. So to bring this to
Oh,
an
you're
end,
very welcome.
Jonathan, yeah, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those ones who would like to reach out to you, learn more about what you're doing, maybe you said some things that
Sure.
resonated with them and they would love to learn more. How can that be possible?
Well, Elisha, thank you for having me on your platform. This has been truly a pleasure. I appreciate your gentle, very, you have this desire for knowledge, and I just want to acknowledge that and just
Thank
say that
you.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
I think my final thought is this: self-awareness is the recognition of one's fears, of one's insecurities, of negative judgments of others. how our actions affect another human being, our limiting beliefs, our negative patterns that bring us pain, and the ability to shift to love when we're feeling emotional pain. So if you ever feel any level of emotional pain, look inward for the answers and give yourself love in those moments. And we can talk about that more. That's part of what I do as a coach. By the way, if you want to follow my work, my name is listed right here, Jonathon Aslay. You can Google me. I have a YouTube channel where I record 5 videos a week for my channel. I'm sure you'll post a link somewhere how to connect with me. Listen, there's nothing easy about this journey of life. It's not meant to be easy, but it's not meant to be painful either. A lot of that is in our head. And then a lot of that, but I'm not going to discount any pain anyone has ever experienced. I think we're all being called to love ourselves more deeply, to shore up that sovereignty within ourselves, because eventually that will bring us the most joy in life. And that's my belief system.
I got that. Amazing. Okay, so that's going to be the end of the show, Jonathan. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this amazing insight with us. It means a whole lot, man. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Elijah.